My wife, 33 years old, and I, 34 years old, have been married for 5 years. When we married, I had a dog and she had a cat. We have since gotten another dog and 2 cats through a local rescue agency. My dog is getting older and is starting to have some health issues. 2 of the cats have health issues as well. Nothing life-threatening, but they do require medication and/or special care. The last cat we got was one that my wife brought home on her own after visiting the rescue agency about an unrelated question. She saw the cat and just had to bring her home. This was about 6 months ago. I told her at the time that bringing home animals needs to be something we discuss together beforehand. We already have pets with health issues, and bringing strange animals into their home isn't a good idea. She apologized and agreed that any future pets would be discussed and agreed upon beforehand. I told her that if she brings home another animal without talking to me about it first, I will bring it right back to the rescue agency until we have a chance to talk about it. This brings us to last week. I had to run some errands over my lunch break and made a quick stop at home. While there, I heard a very faint mewing sound and thought one of the cats was stuck somewhere. But as I was looking around, I noticed all 3 of our cats following me. Eventually, the sound led me to a closed closet at the end of a hallway. Inside was a cat carrier with a cat I had never seen before. I picked it up, brought it to my car, and drove it straight to the rescue agency. They told me my wife hadn't gotten the cat from them, but they would take it. Don't worry, it's a no-kill shelter. I went back to work and went about my day like normal. I never texted or called my wife about the cat. That night, I waited for my wife to bring up the cat, but she never did. It was becoming clear that she was trying to hide it from me. It wasn't until I got home from work the next day that she finally came clean. She asked me if I had taken the cat to the shelter, and I told her I did. She started crying and told me that she was just holding it for someone else because she saw it on a Facebook group and she wanted to help. She said she never had any intention of keeping it and that she already had a home lined up for it, and now she has to call them and tell them what I did. I asked her why she would try to hide the cat from me if that was what she was planning. I told her that was something that we could have discussed together instead of her going behind my back and trying to sneak around. She told me she was going to bring it to our vet before bringing it to the new family, and it was only going to be in our house for one night. She's pissed at me for bringing it to the shelter, but I feel like I did exactly what I told her I would do in this scenario. She's the one who tried to be sneaky, and if I'm being honest, I'm not sure I 100% believe her story. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Her story makes no sense. Why couldn't these people adopt it from the shelter themselves? Has she been known to be a strange, unnecessary middleman for online cat adoptions? If it was truly just one night, it seems you guys are animal people, so it likely would have been fine. So why hide it? There was prior discussion. She knew the outcome of her actions. She tried to trick you, not the idiot. Comment 2. Everyone sucks here. This is crazy. You find a cat in a cage in a closet and don't call and ask your wife about it, but just take it and leave it at a shelter it didn't come from. Your wife doesn't mention the cat until the next day. Didn't she notice it was missing? And who leaves a cat in a cage in a closet like that? I'm not sure any of you should have animals. Jesus flipping Christ. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments from my last post. So things have gotten a bit more complicated since then. A few days after the whole cat incident, my wife and I were still not really talking. The tension in the house was thick, and it was affecting everything. Even the pets seemed to sense it. My older dog, who usually loves to cuddle, was keeping his distance, and the cats were more skittish than usual. I decided to take a day off work to try and clear my head and maybe figure out a way to talk to my wife about everything. While I was home, I noticed my wife had left her laptop open on the kitchen table. I know it's not right to snoop, but curiosity got the better of me. I saw she had been messaging someone on Facebook about another cat. This one was a stray she had found near her office. She was planning to bring it home that night. I felt a mix of anger and disbelief. We had just gone through this, and here she was, planning to do it again. I decided to confront her that evening. When she got home, I asked her straight up if she was planning to bring another cat home. She looked shocked and then defensive. She admitted she had found a stray, but insisted she was just going to take it to the vet and then find it a home. I told her I couldn't believe she was doing this again after everything that had happened. She got really upset and said I was being unreasonable and that she was just trying to help animals in need. We had a huge argument. She accused me of not caring about animals and being too rigid. I told her she was being irresponsible and not considering the well-being of our current pets or our relationship. It was one of the worst fights we've ever had. She ended up storming out and didn't come back until late that night. The next day, I found out she had taken the stray to a friend's house instead of bringing it home. She said she didn't want to upset me further, but the damage was already done. We were barely speaking, and when we did, it was tense and awkward. I felt like we were drifting apart, and I didn't know how to fix it. A few days later, I came home to find my wife sitting on the couch crying. She told me she had been feeling really overwhelmed and stressed out lately. She said she felt like she was failing at everything: work, our marriage, even taking care of the pets. She admitted that bringing home the cats was her way of coping, trying to find some sense of purpose and control. She said she didn't mean to hurt me or go behind my back, but she didn't know how else to deal with her feelings. I felt a mix of emotions: anger, sadness, empathy. I realized that this wasn't just about the cats. There was something deeper going on. I told her we needed to find a way to communicate better and support each other. We agreed to try couples therapy to work through our issues. In the meantime, we decided to set some ground rules about the pets. No more bringing home animals without discussing it first, and we would focus on taking care of the ones we already have. We also agreed to make more time for each other and try to reconnect. The therapy sessions have been tough but helpful. We've started to understand each other better and find ways to compromise. My wife has been more open about her feelings, and I've been trying to be more supportive and understanding. It's a work in progress, but we're both committed to making it work. One thing that came up in therapy was my wife's childhood. She grew up in a chaotic household with parents who were always fighting. She often felt neglected and turned to animals for comfort. She would bring home strays and take care of them, feeling like it was the only thing she could control. This pattern carried over into our marriage, and she didn't even realize it until we started talking about it in therapy. I also shared some of my own struggles. Growing up, I was always the responsible one, taking care of my younger siblings and making sure everything was in order. This made me very rigid and set in my ways. I realized that I needed to be more flexible and open to change, especially when it comes to my wife's need to help animals. We've started to find a balance. My wife has been volunteering at a local animal shelter, which gives her a sense of purpose without bringing more animals into our home. I've been more involved in the care of our pets, making sure they get the attention and care they need. We've also been making more time for each other, going on dates and spending quality time together. It hasn't been easy, and we still have a long way to go, but I feel like we're on the right track. We're learning to communicate better and support each other in a way that works for both of us. I'm hopeful that we can get through this and come out stronger on the other side. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for refusing to spend $4,000 on a destination wedding and being called ungrateful? By my friend, my 32 years old, from college is getting married later this year. The save the date sent last year didn't mention where the wedding would be. My friend and I live in neighboring states. However, when my husband, 33 years old, and I were sent the wedding invitations 3 weeks ago, it turned out that it was going to be a destination wedding. After looking into it, it would cost over $4,000 for the both of us. My husband and I can't afford to spend that much money without going into credit card debt. So last week, I told my friend on the phone that we couldn't attend, but conveyed our best wishes and said that we would send them a wedding gift off the registry. She asked me why we couldn't come, and I said that it wasn't in our budget, mentioning the costs of plane tickets, the resort, 3 nights, and wedding outfits. She offered to lend me a dress to wear so I wouldn't have to spend money to buy one. I told her that it was really kind of her to offer, but the main cost for attending her wedding were the plane tickets and the resort. Then she followed up by offering for me to wear her old wedding dress from her first wedding. And she added that she didn't care about other people wearing white to her wedding. Context: my friend got married in 2017 and divorced in 2020. My then boyfriend, now husband, and I attended that wedding, and it was held locally. The wedding dress she wore was beautiful and minimalist, simple in design. I don't have any details about their divorce, though I do know that it was not amicable. I was pretty shocked by her offer. I didn't and still don't understand the logic behind it. I basically repeated what I said in response to her first offer to loan me a dress. She got a bit upset at my rejection and said that she was trying to do everything she could to help us attend. Again, I thanked her for being so generous with her offers to help. But at this point, I was trying to end the phone call as quickly as possible. To be honest, there's something very off-putting to me about the idea of wearing the bride's wedding dress from her previous wedding to her current one. And a lot of people who attended her first wedding will be at this one, so I think at least some will recognize the dress. I would just feel so embarrassed the entire time. So even if we could afford to go to the wedding, I would have turned down this offer anyway. But I didn't tell my friend any of this on the phone. Now for an update, just yesterday, my friend sent me a long text which basically said that she thought my husband and I were being inconsiderate and ungrateful, and that we should have made a bigger effort to attend her wedding, considering we had been friends for almost 15 years. And that clearly I didn't value our friendship as much as she did. I haven't responded to this message yet, and I've only discussed the situation with my husband, who is on my side. Did I do something wrong, or should I have responded differently? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. The dress was $200 of the $4,000 cost to attend. I don't know why anyone would be tacky enough to think someone would wear their prior wedding dress to attend their next wedding, but I still wouldn't do it. The problem isn't the dress so much, it's that it costs so much to get to her wedding. She's making a big deal about the dress to hide the fact she can't really do anything about the cost of her destination wedding. Stand firm. This isn't about the dress, but the demand that you travel and stay in expensive accommodations for her wedding. Comment 2, 32, and on wedding 2, girl bye. How does you wearing her wedding dress do anything to rectify the $4,000 expense her wedding would be? She's up to something very devilish. You went to her first wedding, and most people don't have a spare $4,000 lying around. I distance myself because why on earth would she want you to wear her first wedding dress to her second? I think she wants to turn you into a spectacle. Such a weird proposition. Not the idiot now for the update. Thanks for reading my last post. So after that long text from my friend, things have only gotten more complicated. I decided to take a few days to think about how to respond, but before I could, she sent another message. This time, she was more direct and accused me of not caring about her happiness. She said that if the roles were reversed, she would have done anything to be there for me. This really hurt because I've always considered myself a good friend to her. My husband suggested that I call her to clear the air, but I was hesitant. I felt like anything I said would just make things worse. But then out of the blue, I got a call from another college friend who was also invited to the wedding. She told me that our mutual friend had been venting to her about my decision not to attend. Apparently, she was really upset and felt like I was abandoning her during an important time in her life. This mutual friend tried to stay neutral, but hinted that maybe I should reconsider my decision. Feeling cornered, I decided to call my friend. The conversation started off tense. She reiterated how hurt she was and how she felt like I was making excuses. I tried to explain our financial situation again, but she wasn't having it. She said that if I really wanted to be there, I would find a way. I felt like I was talking to a wall. She then brought up the fact that I didn't even consider her offer to lend me her old wedding dress, which she thought was a generous gesture. I told her that it wasn't about the dress, but she didn't seem to understand. After the call, I felt drained and more confused than ever. My husband suggested that we send a more expensive gift to show that we still care, but I wasn't sure if that would solve anything. I felt like the damage was already done. A few days later, I received another message from my friend. This time, she said that she didn't want us to send a gift if we weren't going to attend the wedding. She said it would feel like a pity gift and that she didn't want our money. She wanted our presence. This whole situation made me reflect on our friendship. I started to remember times when she had been demanding or insensitive, like the time she insisted I cancel my plans to help her move, or when she got upset because I didn't call her back immediately. These memories made me question whether our friendship was as balanced as I thought. I began to see a pattern of her expecting more from me than I could give. Then something unexpected happened. I got a call from her ex-husband. He said he heard about the situation and wanted to offer some perspective. He told me that during their marriage, she had a tendency to be controlling and had high expectations of people. He said that she often felt entitled to others' time and effort, and that this was one of the reasons their marriage didn't work out. This conversation was eye-opening. It made me realize that her behavior wasn't just about the wedding, but a deeper issue. I decided to talk to my husband about everything I had learned. We both agreed that while we valued our friendship, we couldn't compromise our financial stability or our principles. We decided to send a heartfelt letter explaining our situation and reaffirming our friendship, but without offering any gifts or further apologies. We hoped this would show that we still cared, but also set boundaries. A few days after sending the letter, I received a response. It was brief and cold. She said that she appreciated the letter but still felt hurt. She said she needed some time to think about our friendship and would reach out when she was ready. This left me feeling a mix of relief and sadness. I was relieved that the immediate conflict was over, but sad that our friendship might be coming to an end. Reflecting on our college days, I remembered how we became friends. We bonded over late-night study sessions and shared interests. But even back then, there were signs of her demanding nature. Like the time she insisted we pull an all-nighter for a project even though I had an exam the next day. I always brushed these moments off, thinking they were just part of her personality. But now I see them in a different light. I also thought about my own behavior. I realized that I often put her needs before mine, trying to be the supportive friend. But in doing so, I neglected my own boundaries. This situation made me see that I need to be more assertive and not let others take advantage of my kindness. In the end, I'm not sure what will happen with our friendship. I hope that with time, we can find a way to move past this, but I also know that I need to prioritize my own well-being and not let guilt drive my decisions. This experience has been a tough lesson in setting boundaries and recognizing unhealthy patterns in relationships. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for wanting to legally adopt my brother's baby against my family's wishes? I was adopted by the people I consider my biological parents when I was 7. My biological father is my adopted mother's brother, and she adopted my sister and me from him because he's mentally unstable. We were all raised with the understanding that we were adopted. The concept of adoption isn't prevalent in my culture, as biological parenthood carries great importance. Families will sometimes take in a child from an incapable relative and raise them alongside their own children, but the child is always aware of their biological parents. The biological parents are usually involved, but they are not the child's primary caregivers, and the child usually returns to their biological parents once they are more stable. My younger brother, 17-year-old male, is troublesome and got his ex-girlfriend pregnant. Additionally, he cheated on her, and she wants nothing to do with him. She discovered her pregnancy too late to have a baby unaliving in our state, and her parents won't allow her to travel for one. She wants no involvement with my brother, our family, and it's understandable. Initially, my mother was considering raising the baby, but obviously considering our cultural norms, my mother expected my brother's ex to participate as well. Even when my mother promised that she would allow her to relinquish parental responsibility and move on, she didn't appear sincere. The ex-girlfriend decided to seek the assistance of an adoption agency to place the baby for adoption externally, which upset my mother because, as you may have guessed, blood connection is of great importance to her. Since my husband and I have been facing difficulties conceiving, I offered to take the baby. However, I made it clear that I would only do so if it was a proper adoption and not the way it is traditionally done in our culture, where I would simply be raising the baby temporarily for my brother. I wanted to emphasize that the baby is not a possession to be passed around, and I would not be returning the child when my brother eventually gets his act together in 15 years. My brother's ex-girlfriend was content with this arrangement, and we have been in the process of initiating the necessary paperwork. Everyone in the family is angry. They believe I am unnecessarily causing complications by going against our cultural norms just because I am infertile and desire a child. My mother thinks I am selfish because I was raised in the same manner that I am currently refusing to raise this child, and she sees it as hypocrisy. She believes that I should raise the child with the knowledge of their biological parents, which is something I would share with them at the appropriate time, and give my brother the opportunity to learn how to be a father. I don't believe I am in the wrong, But considering the cultural perspective in my own upbringing, I am starting to question if I might be acting hypocritically. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot, and here's why. You have given the birth mother an option she is willing to consider. This has nothing to do with your family's cultural traditions. The bio mother wants none of that. You are not being hypocritical. Your brother is too young, immature to step up now and be the parent this child will need. You have the opportunity and probably the means for the child to continue to be a part of its bio family, and that is wonderful. You're not being difficult for not wanting to invest your time, energy, and money into raising a child as your own, only to have your brother suddenly decide they are in a good place to take them away from you. Nope. The adoption process is what it is for reasons just like this. Good luck going forward. Comment 2. Not the idiot. You're offering this unwanted child a secure and loving future. You're keeping them in the family so they can know their biological family when they are ready. Your brother shouldn't just get to decide when he is ready to be a father. That time came and went when he got a woman pregnant. That being said, be prepared to have your family constantly interfere with your decision. I wouldn't at all be surprised if they drop the bombshell that your brother is the biological father at the earliest possible stage and try to encourage your child to want a relationship custody with the bio father. Now, for the update, thanks for reading my last post. So here's what's been happening over the past few days. First off, the paperwork for the adoption has been moving along, but not without its hiccups. My brother's ex-girlfriend has been cooperative, but my family has been making things difficult. My mother in particular has been relentless. She's been calling me every day, trying to convince me to reconsider my stance. She even went as far as to show up at my house unannounced, which led to a heated argument. She accused me of tearing the family apart and said that I was being selfish for wanting to adopt the baby legally. She kept bringing up how I was raised and how it turned out fine for me. But I stood my ground. I told her that I wanted to give the baby a stable and permanent home, not just a temporary solution. In the middle of all this, my brother has been acting out even more. He's been skipping school and getting into trouble with the law. Last night, he got arrested for vandalizing a local store. My mother had to bail him out, and she blamed me for his behavior, saying that my actions were causing him stress. I couldn't believe it. I tried to talk to him, but he just shrugged me off and said that he didn't care about the baby or what happened to it. It was heartbreaking to see him so detached and irresponsible. Meanwhile, my husband and I have been trying to stay focused on the adoption process. We've been meeting with lawyers and social workers, making sure everything is in order. It's been exhausting, but we're determined to see it through. We've also been preparing our home for the baby, buying furniture and baby supplies. It's been a mix of excitement and anxiety, knowing that we're so close yet still facing so many obstacles. The fallout from all this has been tough. My relationship with my mother is strained, to say the least. She's been cold and distant, and it's clear that she's not going to support our decision. My sister has been more understanding, but she's caught in the middle and doesn't want to take sides. It's been isolating, feeling like we're fighting this battle alone. But there's more to the story. I recently found out some things about my biological father that have added another layer of complexity to the situation. Apparently, he's been trying to get in touch with me and my sister for years, but my mother never told us. She thought it would be better for us not to have any contact with him, given his mental instability. But now, with everything that's happening, I can't help but wonder if knowing him might have given me a different perspective on family and parenthood. I managed to get in touch with him through a mutual acquaintance. It was a surreal experience talking to the man who gave me life but whom I've never really known. He was surprisingly coherent and expressed regret for not being a part of our lives. He said that he understood why my mother did what she did, but wished he could have been there for us. It was a lot to take in, and I'm still processing it all. This revelation has made me even more determined to adopt the baby legally. I don't want the child to grow up with the same questions and uncertainties that I did. I want to give them a clear sense of identity and belonging, something that I struggled with for so long. But before I tell you more about that, there's another twist. My brother's ex-girlfriend's parents have been trying to intervene. They're not happy with the idea of the baby being adopted by someone within the family, even if it's a legal adoption. They've been pushing for an external adoption through the agency, which has added more tension to an already volatile situation. They've even threatened to take legal action if we don't comply with their wishes. This has put us in a difficult position. We want to respect their wishes, but we also believe that we can provide a loving and stable home for the baby. We've been trying to negotiate and find a middle ground, but it's been challenging. The whole situation feels like a ticking time bomb, and we're just trying to navigate it as best as we can. In the midst of all this chaos, I've been reflecting on my own upbringing and the choices my mother made. I understand her perspective, but I also see the flaws in the way things were handled. I don't want to repeat the same mistakes. I want to break the cycle and do things differently, even if it means going against cultural norms and facing backlash from my family. So that's where we are right now. It's been pretty up and down of emotions, and there's still a lot of uncertainty ahead. But we're committed to doing what we believe is best for the baby, even if it means facing opposition from those we love. Thanks for reading. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.